Googled when I Googled AI bubble, there comes up this article that, it's titled, I chatted with Ray Dalio's AI doppelganger. There's a 75% chance the AI bubble bursts in 2026. And so then I found where it said it. It says, Digital Ray isn't hugely optimistic. It writes, I'd say the probability of a meaningful correction in AI-related equities by the end of 2026 is elevated, something in the range of 65 to 75%. Its reasoning comes down to history with the dot-com bubble and concerns about creative accounting related to off-balance sheet investment.
Hey, Mark, so how you doing this week?
I'm good. It's funny. I know like we've been talking about AI a lot, but yeah. I saw this TikTok where the guy he was talking about his son in school getting like flagged like on some test or paper or whatever, or it sounded like a test for using AI, and apparently the question was like, what is define photosynthesis?
Okay.
So he defined photosynthesis and it got flagged like 97% or whatever as being like AI, I guess. I have heard of it. The fact that I guess they run these papers and various things through like to try to figure out if the student is using AI.
Yeah,
I'm too old for this conversation, so because there was no AI paper writers when I was in school. So, but it's like they run them through these, to figure out if it's AI, and the guy is basically like, he's saying he's having this conversation with the educator, the teacher, the whoever.
Right.
It's like it's a definition. So like, of course, it's gonna be like similar. Like AI is going to give a similar answer because it's you're asking to define photosynthesis, and a definition is talking about the word specifically what it means. So there's really only like, and he goes on to say like, if you ask me to define the word road, and then you asked 100 other people to define the word road, you would get very, very similar answers because road means one thing. So I don't like it. And I just found it interesting on two different fronts. One, that the fact that they're using this to figure out like if kids are cheating, right. I get that part because you could cheat using that. But the other thing was just the fact that, like, I don't know, it's like you're talking to a human, and according to him, it's like he's explaining this, and the school people are basically like, well, the computer flagged it, like, so that's it. The computer flagged it, but he's like, you don't understand how like a definition is a definition. It's like the way he was describing is almost like talking to a wall. It's like you don't even understand, like, you're so, I guess, dependent on the AI tool that you can't even have like a real human conversation as far as like, this doesn't make sense, right? Like what you're telling me doesn't make sense. Of course, definition is going to be 97% similar to what an AI is going to say because it's defining the word.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything specific to that. I mean, I have seen other things as far as the, these running essays through these, and they're basically AIs that are looking for AI generated content.
Right.
Right. So that in and of itself is kind of weird that we're depending on an AI to tell me whether this student used AI rather than. Well, I think I might have mentioned it to you a couple of weeks ago. I walked into Starbucks and there was a teacher who had a stack of blue books. Right. And I looked at her and I went, blue books? I haven't seen those in a while. And she just looked up at me and she smiled. She goes, yeah, AI. All right. And so the way that teachers are handling this AI generated essays are like, you know what? No, where you're gonna bring a blue book, and I'll give you the question in class, and you write out your answer.
Right then and
And
there.
yeah, you did test, you had
Yeah.
essay exams in school. They still had blue books when you were in school.
I mean, I don't know if they were blue specifically, but yeah, I mean, I remember having to take tests where, it was like, here's an essay, just here's the question, and you have to write a page or 2 pages or whatever.
Yeah, well, that when I was in school, and even when I was going to college in my 40s, we still had blue books. The teacher would say, okay, the exam next week is, half of it's going to be multiple choice and the other half is essay. So bring a blue book. All right. And then you're like, okay.
Yeah.
And you fill it out. So I thought, and then I did see an article, I just scanned over it a couple of days ago, where that is a comeback now because of the prevalence of AI and students using it. So they're like, okay, well, we still have to verify that you are learning something, so we'll go back to the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, just pencil and paper.
Yeah, and if you follow that news at all, there's all sorts of news stories that are coming out, like how test scores are going down again. They had been on an upswing for a while, standardized test scores, but now they're starting to fall down. And whether that's related to AI or just social media immersion in general is hard to say. I haven't dug that deep into it. I just thought it was interesting in relation to what you just said, like parents going to the school and going, what are you dinging my kid for?
Yeah. Well, and one of the reasons why, like, he was particularly adamant about this particular time is because he said he was there, because I guess it was like he was doing at home. And
right, so dad's like watching the kid do his homework.
Do the homework. So he's like, I know he didn't look anything up, and he even describes, because apparently it was one of those situations where, like, the question before basically defined photosynthesis, and then the next question is asking you to define photosynthesis, and it's like, so should I just copy that, what it says right there, or do it? And he's like, I think it means to, like, put it in your own words, I guess. So that was what happened at home, and then now he gets flagged for this, using AI, and he's like, wait, hold on, no, I watched him do that one. I don't know, he might, he didn't.
Yeah, he might be using AI when I'm not around, but when I'm there,
I specifically saw this particular one. So
yeah.
But yeah, just, we were talking about, we've been talking a lot about AI, so I just thought it was interesting. It popped up, and also the leaning into the AI, and you even mentioned the AI, like, grading the AI. Basically, you have AI grading AI theoretically. I mean, not really. They're relying on the AI to tell if this is AI or not. But
yeah, well, one of the interesting things that I circle around is because the way that AIs write is predicated on them ingesting, like, massive amounts of human generated text, right? So it's using the way that humans write in order to write back. So if we're seeing our own, phrasing in a standardized kind of way, like the way that the infamous EM dash.
Yeah.
Right? You hear about that all the time, that's a dead giveaway for AI writing. And then when I look, like, certain blogs on Medium or Substack or whatever, people that have been, professional writers that have been writing for a long time, a lot of them are kind of crying a little bit because they're going, like, I like the EM dash, but now I can't use it because people think that I'm right, that it's AI is generating my content.
Right. And I that's a kind of seems like an interesting question, though, because it's like, okay, these are, like, somebody pointed out in one of the comments, and we even, I think, pointed it out, it's not technically artificial intelligence. Most of these are just large language models, right? So they're spell check on steroids, I think you said.
No,
or something.
autocorrect on steroids.
Autocorrect, that's what it was.
Yeah,
Autocorrect
yeah.
on steroids.
And then it turns out I'm in good company because there's a psychologist, Gary Marcus, who does a lot of writing on AI, and he used that term too. So I go, okay, I'm in good company then, you know?
Right. So where I'm going with that is if it's a large language model, so it's a language predictor, right? Based off of whatever it's being fed, you know, whether it's the entirety of the internet or whatever it is that they're feeding it. All of this stuff is something that a human wrote. So if it's predicting words and or punctuation, or not and punctuation based on what human, so basically I guess the point I'm getting at is the M dash, it's doing that because humans do that.
Yeah.
Right.
And
so it's like how, I guess, is, you know,
how frequently is it deployed, you know, blah, blah, blah.
well, like, I feel like, you know, like it's kind of easy to, you know, AI generated voice is, you know, because it doesn't sound like a human. There's certain whatever, you know, tone and fluctuation and what have you that doesn't sound quite right. Whereas like if the large language, in a writing sense, you know, or words on a screen, it's like, I feel like it's a little bit harder to tell because since it's mimicking human speech patterns, it's going to sound kind of human, you know?
Yeah, well, when you're reading it, you read it with the proper cadence and pausing and stuff like that. It's like, well, occasionally on YouTube, you'll click on a video and you'll start to watch it, and it looks like it starts out where it looks like there's a human, like in the first 10 seconds, but then that person disappears and the entire rest of the video is just a voice. And then what I've realized is that first 10 seconds is basically an AI generated human, you know, like that VO or whatever it is, Nano Banana, I don't know what they are, but and then the rest of it is AI generated speech because of that weird cadence. It'll pause in the middle of a sentence instead of where like maybe it'll pause 2 words before the comma in the sentence, you know, kind of thing. And because I was not yesterday, day before yesterday, Saturday, with all the release of Gemini 3.0 now in the AI space and all the excitement about that. I clicked on this one video that was talking about, you know, the features of Gemini 3.0, and after about 5 minutes, that I caught that that weird cadence, and I went, "Oh no, this is all AI generated. I'm not watching this. This isn't a person."
Yeah, I get that a lot lately. It's happening more and more. You know, click on a video and you start listening, and I don't. You know what? It's funny because I don't even necessarily mind like if you have an AI generated video, like the actual video itself. Where, you know, you probably just I've heard of the programs. If I looked it, I probably could think of it. Like, but anyways, I know there's some of these AIs that just make videos, put in B-roll and what have you. Like, I'm fine with watching that type of stuff as long as the voice itself is like a real human. But like, it's most of those videos, it's not actually a human.
Oh, so you're okay with, like, say if I put together something, used AI for the video, but did the talking myself over the top of it, you're like okay with AI generated video content.
Yeah, well,
but
yeah, exactly. Well, because a lot of like, let's just say it's like a history video. I don't know, you know, I'm telling me about whatever, some World War I.
All right.
You know, and you're just telling a story from World War I, and you have, you know, the AI video generators just, you know, give you a bunch of shots of tanks and World War I soldiers,
yeah,
and, you know, whatever. And it's just like a bunch of B-roll that might be like randomly put together. Because a lot of times, like, I'm not watching the video. I'm just listening to it, you know, whether I'm driving in my car or, you know, it's like a lot of these, you know, the type of stuff I watch on YouTube is more for the information. So it's like I don't necessarily have to look at the screen.
Right. You're just listening. All right.
Yeah.
So as long as the voice sounds human, you're okay with it.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm saying.
So when they get the AI voices to sound more human, you'll be okay with that.
I guess if I can't tell, it's just that thing where it's like you know, I'm listening to it and after like 30 seconds or maybe less, you know, you're just like, wait a minute, hold on.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like they almost fool you because it'll be like I don't know, like a British accent or some other like not an American accent, and it's like I think those ones fool me more because I'm just used to listening to American stuff.
Yeah, the cadence of the way Americans talk is familiar to you as opposed to the rhythms of a different language or a different area of the world. You know, the way that they talk.
Right.
Yeah, well, one of the the one thing about all this AI stuff that I encountered recently in looking into like the Gemini, these new features of Gemini, is like one of the image manipulation features is taken right out of Orwell. You know, where you can take a photograph and you can, well, say you broke up with you're getting married a week from today.
Yeah.
How you feeling?
Good.
Yeah. Not too nervous, are you?
No.
All right. But like let's say you were going through a photo box or your digital photos on your computer and you found some photos of you and an ex-girlfriend. Well, you could just go to AI now and just have the ex-girlfriend edit out of the photo.
Oh yeah.
You know, and that's Orwell all over the place. Oh yeah, well, you know, did this happen? Yeah, these two guys were together. No, it wasn't. He was never there.
Right.
You know, and try to find proof. Go ahead, I dare you.
Yeah, because right? We were talking about it the other day. That was Winston's whole job.
Yeah, was changing history.
Yeah,
rewriting history.
Yeah.
So, you know,
and now you can kind of do it. You know, especially when you think of the fact that like we've been using digital photography and stuff for a while now. So now like it's not like, oh, well, I can go back to my printed out film, you know, and find, no, here's the real film from that picture. Like this is where I was at. Whereas like now it was digital in the first place. And now I've altered it digitally. So
well, yeah, now, but that gets into like the metadata and stuff like that that's stored, and and apparently there are ways to tell now if a photograph has been digitally altered or not. I don't know. I just thought it was interesting that when I was looking at the features or when I was watching this video on the features of these new, you know, Google Gemini tools, and it talked about that ability to take a photo and remove like something from it and then adjust all the other elements. And I thought, oh man, yeah, that's Orwell all over the place. And then I'm like, there's a part of me that's like, ooh, I've got some pictures I could experiment with to see if it actually works and what it looks like. But then, you know, the paranoid part of me is like, oh man, if that's really happening and people are really doing that, then, you know, what we're looking at suddenly becomes even more suspect than it was, you know, to start with.
Well, yeah, because there's been special effects and various things. I mean, we watch movies all the time. Like, there's a lot of stuff that happens on video that could never happen, it could never happen in real life. So, but now I think it's getting into the hands of like people where, to do some of that CGI, you had to have like super powerful computers and, all this high tech equipment and stuff. And now it's like, I can just be at home on my computer and put it into this AI. And now I have, those where they, you can change your face. There's a lot of those programs now where, you can change your face. And they had what's his name? One of those comedians, Jay Farrell? Yeah, he does a bunch of impressions, and like in the video they put like basically when he did each impression, whether it was Eddie Murphy or Kevin Hart or whoever he was doing, his face would change to that comedian. And it
really,
yeah, and it looked like, obviously as you're watching his face change when he goes from voice to voice to voice, it's like, yeah, I mean, but you see the change, but it's getting to the point where it's like it actually, really looks believable, which is, and people are constantly getting duped online with these AI videos, even if they're like harmless things where, it's, I don't know. I saw one where it was like supposed to be a 3D mat, like a carpet, on the ground, and it was two dogs and a cat were like walking up to the mat, and then they all stop at the mat and like look at it, and then the bigger dog, which was like a pit bull, I'm not super good with dog breeds, but took the smaller dog and picked him up and threw him into this 3D mat that looked like a hole in the ground. And, I see the comments, but it was AI. Like the whole thing was AI, but people in the comments, they see it and they're like, oh, wow, that dog is really smart or whatever. It's like...
Well, there was an example on the video that I watched on this video generating thing. And one of it was of a girl, a young woman in her 20s probably, in a pool or some clear water, whatever, but where a shark swims up to her and she like puts her arm around the shark and like kisses it on the nose, totally AI generated, stuff. And yet you're looking at it going, man, that looks like it could have happened, like it. And that's the part that kills me, like that's obviously not real because, sharks aren't friendly like that. But when you can take that kind of level of realism and then move it into something that could actually happen, that's not outside of the realm of the possible, you start messing with people's heads that way.
Well, yeah. And that's kind of the scary thing is it's like, yeah, you see, and it's like you can tell now, but it's also, you can tell because one, it's the, whether or not the technology is going to get there, maybe it will, but it's like there's just, there's little tells and stuff, whether it's the graininess or, but a lot of it is just like it's not realistic. That's usually the first tell, like you said, with the shark thing. It's like, Yeah,
well, they were just, I mean, obviously this is an example of what it can do. You're like, oh, okay, you just type in this simple little prompt and look, what do you get?
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, that's great. And like, when it comes to that kind of fun stuff, yeah, sure, it's harmless. But then, the other side of it is, people are offloading their thinking to it, all the stuff that, it just, the depressing. And then you say all this stuff and all this cool stuff, and everybody gets all excited about what AI can do. And then I go, yeah, but those data centers, they're building these things that are half the size of Manhattan.
Yeah.
They're consuming massive amounts of electricity and water, and, as these data centers come online, guess who's going to pay higher electricity bills, right? You and me, right? And, I keep seeing these articles that are like, yeah, because they're going to be the AI and robotics and all this kind of stuff. These companies are going to be making money hand over fist, and they're not going to be having to pay anybody. So yeah, we're going to have a beautiful life because we're going to have so much money to just give everybody massive basic income. And I'm like, oh, if only. I really wish that I could believe that.
Yeah.
uh, Somehow or another, no matter how much money we push up at trickle down, it doesn't seem to flow out of the top and back down to us.
Oh, it keeps going up and up and up. And well, I mean, by the fact that there's more billionaires than there ever was before.
Well, yeah. And we're minting them by the dozens now. Well, I mean, instant billionaires in AI are popping up. A couple of guys out of college, oh, here's my startup. Oh, it's worth $2 billion. Okay. Or whatever it is.
Yeah, I've actually been hearing a lot lately about this, that the AI, it's an AI bubble.
Yeah.
Like, and apparently, like you said, you've been saying all these companies are investing all this money, but I mean, I don't know. I've only saw like a couple things, a couple headlines and stuff. I haven't really dug deep into it, but apparently they're not seeing as much returns because obviously capitalism requires profit for it to make sense for them. And apparently, from what I've been seeing, they're not seeing the type of returns that they're expecting with this type of investment that they're making in it.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, interestingly enough, when I first encountered, like when my therapist was like, you should try AI, look into it, see what you think. And, after a few weeks, I'm realizing, well, I'm at the issues that I was running into in not using it properly, not really understanding what it was good for and what it wasn't. But I'm out there, I go out to LinkedIn and I'm like looking for work because I need to supplement the Social Security. And I just put a post on there going, yeah, all this AI stuff, it sounds like the .com bubble to me, right? Because in the same way in the late 90s, all you had to do was slap .com on the end of something and there was massive amounts of money flowing to you. You remember that whole thing.
yeah.
And, my sense was, it was just my pattern recognition engine on high alert. I was just seeing all this stuff, AI, and .ai and these incredible valuations, and I thought that sounds like the bubble, but I wasn't. It just was a throwaway thought. Then over the couple of months that's in it, I keep seeing more and more articles, and some of it is what they call the circular financing. OpenAI is investing in Microsoft. Microsoft is investing in NVIDIA. NVIDIA is investing in Anthropic, but so there's hundreds of billions of dollars being invested, but it's all in this circular thing. That's one argument. Another argument is in just all of these data centers getting built and the current iterations of the GPUs that are going in, but how that technology moves. So you're going to build a data center and put chips in now, and then in a year or two, another chip's going to come out that's going to be better. So that's part of what they're concerned about. Other people are like, don't worry about it. It's not really a bubble. It'll be sort of like the .com in the sense that a lot of companies went under, but a lot of the money that was spent was on broadband, right?
Infrastructure.
infrastructure. So even though a lot of those companies were vaporware and disappeared, the infrastructure remained, and so our current use of technology and the rise of social media and everything is taking advantage of that bandwidth. And so some of the people in the AI bubble space are like, yeah, there's going to be some pain. Some people are going to lose some money, but we'll have all this, capacity for when we actually figure out what it's good for and what it's not good for.
Yeah.
But then what I find the most interesting voice, the one that I'm paying more attention to, not because I'm an uber capitalist, but because he is, that Ray Dalio, the founder of Blackwater.
Okay.
He's like, he writes about the bubble, and as a hedge fund, investor, and a very successful one, his takes on the investment and where he's like looking seem to me to make more sense. Although he too is one that's like, yeah, this is a bubble and it's going to deflate.
Yeah.
And some people are going to get hurt. And this is where, well, he says this is where he's putting his money, where he's, and so if you think that he did all right in the capitalist world, then he might be someone that you'd want to look at as far as what to do with your money, and how to position yourself with the rise of AI everywhere, because it's coming. It's here. As much as I wish it would slow down.
Yeah.
I wish it would slow down, but it is what it is, and you have to deal with it in one way or another. And you're going to be batting away AI generated content, and you're going to be, what I think is, as much as I'm not a fan of capitalism and what it does to people, I'm also sort of at a point and going, well, how can I take this boom and do something that'll make my retirement a little bit easier, because it's a struggle right now.
Yeah. Speaking of Ray Dalio, he has an AI version of himself. And when I googled AI bubble, there comes up this article that it's titled "I chatted with Ray Dalio's AI doppelganger, and it claims there's a 75% chance the AI bubble bursts in 2026." And so then I found where it said it. It says, Digital Ray isn't hugely optimistic. It writes, "I'd say the probability of a meaningful correction in AI-related equities by the end of 2026 is elevated, something in the range of 65 to 75%. Its reasoning comes down to history with the dot-com bubble and concerns about creative accounting related to off-balance sheet investment vehicles." I just thought it was funny that you said Ray Dalio, and then he has his own AI chatbot that apparently he's uploaded his consciousness to, or not literally.
Well, no, like all of his books and stuff that he's written, and that, and interestingly enough, one of the uses of AI, one of these recommended things, is to do things like that. Like if you're studying something, and like, well, you're currently listening to the collected works of Karl Marx, right? Now, if you could take all of that collected works of Karl Marx and like upload it into an AI, right? Then you could actually have a conversation, with it. But to upload that much information, you would have to be on the highest paid tier, and start coughing up $200 a month.
Yeah, I don't know how much it is on paper, but I know that the Audible.
Yeah, you said it was over 100 hours. So if you figure if it takes 100 hours to read it, you're talking several volumes of text.
Yeah.
And I've never been to a library and seen like the shelf that says, oh, these are the collected works of Karl Marx.
Right.
But I imagine it's quite a bit. But, like, that's the funny thing when you're reading like the tech blogs and stuff like that. Everybody and their brother has got some world altering use for like Notebook LM or some AI tool somewhere. And it like, there's like the geek that lives in my head that's like, oh, that sounds really cool. Let's do that. And then I'm like, you know what? The learning curve just to get to that point is going to take me so far away from what I'm actually like working on right now.
Yeah.
That I'm like, yeah. Well, that when I had that one run in with the AI when I was talking about like trying to set that thing up and I was asking the AI for help and I realized that that's the completely wrong use for an LLM. I learned the hard way, but I did learn my lesson. But like sometimes all of these new tools have a bigger learning curve where the tools that I know how to use, the Microsoft Office suite and stuff like that, can do 95% of what some new tool can do. And I don't have to go through that big steep learning curve.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to I'm reverting back to the things that I know, and because there's enough the AI related stuff because there's two tracks that I sort of bounce back and forth on with it. One is just learning how to use it, and like properly, like what it's actually good for, as opposed to the things that I try to use it for that's like, no, this is no good for that. And then the other side is just really understanding how these things work.
Yeah.
Like what's what are they actually doing under the hood? And that's like, oh man, do I really, is it time in my life to try to get a degree in computer science? And so I'm like standing on that. How much do I need to know in order to not get myself in trouble with using them? Although I one of the things I've been trying to do to make money is like these various like gig economy things to help train these LLMs and so I've been signing up for all of those things, and so far I haven't gotten anything, which sucks. But on one of the sites, Outlier, it's called outlier.ai, they have a playground where you can use every single model. You can use Grok, you can use ChatGPT, you can use Llama, you can use Claude. There's like, wow. Yeah, and all of them are free to use. So I'm like, all right, well, that's a benefit of signing up, even though I haven't made any money yet. Yeah. I can fart around and type in the same question and then just go from model to model to model and check the answer for the same question.
Yeah.
And see how they vary. I was playing around for about 5 minutes earlier this morning, with that. I went, oh, all right, that's kind of cool. But again, it's that, autocorrect on steroids, stochastic parrot,
Yeah.
It's just, and so the question then becomes, how much do you give it? Like what is it? Like, what's the difference between using an AI tool versus using Google, right? Like if I go to Google and I go, all right, I'm looking for information on metacognition. That's a big thing in the AI world now. It's like you have to pay attention to how you're thinking when you're dealing with AI so that you're not getting, twisted up in your head. And so I go, okay, so I can go to Google and I can say, okay, metacognition, and Google give me a bunch of results. And then I can go to an AI, Gemini or whatever, say, same thing, Google, go to Gemini and say, all right, give me what's the deal with metacognition. And am I going to get a different answer? Am I going to, is the Gemini going to be more trustworthy than my own Google search? You know, that's one of the things that I keep running into, because Anthropic, the makers of Claude, they have an AI fluency course on their website that I've been working my way through. And one of the things that I've discovered is that in order to really utilize any AI effectively, you really need to kind of know your way around the subject that you're using the AI for.
Right.
Because that's the only way you're going to be able to tell when it starts confidently stating hallucinations and all that stuff.
Yeah. No, yeah, for sure. Because, like, if you read a book, like, because I've had to do this before. It's like I read a book, and then it's like I've asked AI, like, oh, can you, like, give me a summary or whatever? Or even can you tell me, like, what other people say or whatever, right? And there's been times when it's like, wait a minute, that's not what it said. Or I remember that part, right? You know, some of this stuff I might not have remembered, so it could still fool me. But I guess to your point, the more familiar you are with it is the better.
Yeah. Well, I told you that story where I'm in the AI and I'm like closing up an investigation, and I made a reference to a book and a specific statement that the author made in the book. And the response I got from the AI was a quote. Oh, that's a brilliant, use of this quote. And it came up with a quote, and I was like, that's not in the book. That manufactured quote,
yeah,
not in the book. And then in the AI fluency course, it specifically says, right, if you're a subject matter expert, right, then you're utilizing the tool. You know how to use it. You know when it's giving you good information and when it's giving you bad information. And I'm like, okay, that seems fair, as far as, being able to use it to really move you along, right, in something. But then I keep coming back to the AI in education. They're using AI in schools, and they're telling there a lot of the articles and the hype that you see is telling you as a user that you can use this, right, to educate yourself on things that you don't know. And that's
but you can't really. Well,
exactly.
You can in some ways, but you can't because it might be hallucinating, and it might be giving you the wrong information. I mean, it could be giving you the right information, but it also could be giving you.
And if you don't know, if you're trying to learn, and I'm trying to learn about, let's say, emotional intelligence, right? I don't know, it's something that I've heard about, but I'm curious. I want to know a little bit more about it. So I go, okay, hey, Claude or ChatGPT or Grok or whatever, let's get into emotional intelligence. And then it starts telling me a bunch of stuff, and I think that I'm learning all about emotional intelligence. And it turns out that 75% of it was true, but part of it was just fabricated. And unless I have a way of verifying that information as I'm, quote, relying on an AI to educate me, I'm not sure. There may be, in the AI fluency course that I'm taking as I get further along through it, it may address those particular questions. I just haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah.
Well, because they have exercises and stuff, and it's like, okay, the first step is what they call delegation, which means that you look at the task that you're sitting down in front of the AI with, and you're trying to decide, well, which aspects do I keep for myself, and which aspects do I turn over to the AI, just let the AI do everything, and where do I want to, quote unquote, collaborate with it, right? And so I've I completed the court, like the, what do they call it, like listening to the little 5 minute 7 minute lectures on what the features are, and then work through some exercise. And now I'm at a point where, oh, now it's given me a few different sample things to work through to say, okay, if you had this kind of a project, how would you allocate the tasks between you and the AI?
Yeah.
And then you just have to kind of sit down and work it out yourself. And then you can go into the AI. That's one of the things that it says. Well, after you've done this, then come in, open up the AI and then interact with it and give it your thoughts on these particular projects to see how the AI responds to it, And so it's a kind of a learn by doing thing as well, which I find in my own life is the way that I've learned things best. I mean, I didn't know crap about spreadsheets until I, I'm working I'm working, and then suddenly the planning that I was doing is like, oh, we're not going to do that on paper anymore. Here's Lotus 1, 2, 3, learn it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And then just about the time that I was getting proficient with Lotus, they got rid of Lotus and they moved us over to the Office. I had, and the only real stumbling block that I had in moving from Lotus to Excel was the start of a formula in Lotus was the @ symbol. So whenever you were going to write a formula, it was always @ instead of in Excel, it's equal. Right.
I see what yeah.
So for the longest time, like I'm in Excel and I'm gonna write a formula, and boom, I'm hitting the @ symbol, and then I'm typing the formula, and I'm wondering why this thing is blowing up. It's not working. But after a few months, I finally I got over that muscle memory and got the new one. But yeah, so learning by doing, I guess, was the point. Is you just throw me into the deep end of the pool, and I'll learn how to swim. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that's like that for everybody, but I feel like it kind of is, because it's one thing, like you can tell me how to do something, right? You can give me the instructions, but until and I can visualize it, I can even follow the instructions, but it's like, I think part of the learning process and really learning how to do something is figuring out what can go wrong, because it's like there's these steps, right? Okay, yeah. Step 1 is whatever, step 2, all right, boom. And then something happens that doesn't work out. Like I think about some of the times when like I went to go fix my car, and it was like, yeah, okay, I went to go change my catalytic converter, and it's like, all right, cool. All right, no problem. It's got 2 bolts here, 2 bolts there. There's a couple little like rubber, grommets or straps or whatever word is escaping me right now, but basically to hold it in place so that it doesn't move, right? Or it can move, but not too much, I guess, right?
Right.
Everything's going good. Take off the old catalytic converter, put the new one on, get one of the rubber, straps hooked up. Can't get the other one hooked up. And sat there for God knows how long. I don't know. It's been like 20 years. So I don't really remember exactly how long I spent. I spent a lot of time. I sliced up my middle finger all the way from the bottom of my finger all the way up to the top, because I was trying to use a screwdriver to stretch the rubber thing, and it ended up catching on my, so point being is like, as a mechanic, it's like, yeah, I can look at the steps of how to change a starter or how to change brakes or, but until you actually sit down and do it, you don't really know how to do it, I guess.
Well, yeah. And the other thing is that we learn, at least in my experience, I learn more from failure than from success.
Right.
It's even when I was trying to teach myself coding, I learned a little bit, but I learned more than a little bit, but not nearly enough to make a living at it. But like the frustration would come because I would be typing things and it would work and it was fine. And then I would write a block of code that looked right to me, and then I'd hit run and it would blow up. And then I would, okay, go line by line by line, going, all right, that line's right, that line's right, that line, they all look right, run, boom, it blow up. And then to find out that it might be I hit the space bar before a bracket or something like that.
Yeah,
just something absolutely crazy, silly.
Right, small, yeah.
But it would cause the thing to blow up. And yet that experience of having to dig through it step by step by step to find out what did I do wrong was way better than typing a block of code the first time and getting it right. Because the next time I needed to do that, guess what I had to do? I had to go back and look at, well, how did I do that the last time?
Right.
Whereas when I was doing something similar to the thing that I had trouble with, now the next time I had to do it, I blew right through it.
You know, it's funny. I found that similarly a while back, I was trying to learn, HTML. And I was taking this online class, and it's like, and because I have a full-time job and blah, 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 all this stuff, right? It's like, I'll do an hour today.
Right.
And then maybe tomorrow or the next day I don't get to it, but then the next day I have another hour to do it or whatever. Maybe I only scheduled it for two days a week. I'm going to spend an hour twice a week. I forget what my schedule was. It's just why I'm talking in a speculative, but I did have a schedule. But anyways, it was twice a week, 1 hour. But I would go from time to time. I'd look back and I'd be like, dang, it's been like 4 days or 3 days since I looked at that. I don't remember what I did. So now I got to kind of go back and look at it again. And so it's like, yeah, to your point that when you make a mistake, it's like it sticks in your brain more. Like, I'm never going to do that again.
Yeah. Well, in much the same way, like my experience with getting frustrated with the AI is when I was trying to do something that they weren't designed to do and they're not capable of doing.
Yeah.
I'm getting super frustrated. And then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I do a little digging to find out why this isn't working, and I find out, oh, well, they can't. That thing that I'm asking this LLM to do, it simply cannot do. Oh, well, great. Now I'm mad at myself for wasting a few days and trying to do something like that, but now I'm smarter. Now I know, oh, okay, when it comes to those kinds of tasks, don't even go near an LLM.
Yeah.
And when it comes to these other things, and now I'm finding that now that I've used them for a few months, I'm sort of reverting back in a way to the way that I used to do things. I'm not, I'm not running to the LLM, as often as I was when I first started using it, because my curiosity about them was high. Now that I've satisfied that curiosity, now I'm like sort of, all right, in this case, it works okay. And now I've got some ideas how I want to play with them,
right.
And play in the sense of it's fun for me because it allows me to be creative in ways that, I don't know, it just seems, it feels good to me. And then, but the other side of it is from an educational standpoint, on like where you can use these things and where they can get you into trouble, you know? And because you see a lot of, when I was having my coffee earlier today, I was, reading, and I came across an article about how these LLMs are making it harder to uproot conspiracy theories because of how they reinforce them, that the sycophantic nature and what have you of when you go to the LLM and you say, hey, about this, and then it's like, oh, that's a brilliant idea, or that's very insightful, you're on the right track, and then people follow it, and even if it's not particularly dangerous, it can still like reinforce a kind of conspiratorial mindset. And so this is one of the things that people are talking about as well when it comes to the use of this technology out there in the world.
Yeah, it's funny because I recently, well, we're about to get in an hour here, but I recently, so we'll end soon. I recently went through the Hitchhiker's Guide series again, and it was just funny because I was thinking about the genuine people personalities that they decided to like give the artificial intelligence, like Marvin and the Doors and stuff, and Eddie, the onboard ship computer. And it kind of reminded me of the way like the Chat GPT talks to you, like, oh, that's a great idea, where, like, obviously Marvin was the depressed android, but so he was sad. But like the Eddie, the computer, for the ship computer, he was like, oh, it's my pleasure to serve you and whatever.
Yeah, Eddie, the computer on the ship. Yeah, the Heart of Gold. That was Chat GPT.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, pretty much that it's like that sounds like Chat, because like, well, I don't know, like I haven't really interacted with the newer version of ChatGPT 5 or 5.1 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But the old version, 4.0, was definitely the Heart of Gold, the AI on the Heart of Gold. I think so. That would be fun. You should try to do that, Mark. You should go into an LLM and see if you can make an LLM talk like Marvin.
Yeah.
Right? To be terminally depressed.
Right.
Oh, when I love that one scene where he's like, they ask him to do something and he's like, I've got a brain that can process like billions of whatever.
The size of a planet, yeah.
Yeah, brain the size of a planet, and you're asking me to open a door or whatever it was.
Yeah. I think that was like when I think that was the first scene he was introduced in, because they told him to go get Arthur and Ford because they had just hitchhiked onto their spaceship.
Oh, okay.
He was like,
did you ever see the movie adaptation?
Like the one that came out like 20 years ago or whatever.
Yeah,
with Martin Freeman. Yeah, I saw.
Well, no, it was because the voice of Marvin was Alan Rickman.
Yeah,
and he was perfect for that.
Yeah,
he was really perfect for that. Well, see, you can have fun with AI.
Yeah, it's. I mean, even the Doors were like happy. Oh, I was happy to have opened for you, or whatever they say. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, that's that sycophancy that they talk about all the time. And it's an interesting problem, for the model builders, because because they have that RLHF, reinforcement learning from human feedback, and a lot of that is that people prefer, when they're evaluating the answers from the AI, they'll get two different answers, and when people are rating them, they like it when it's friendly like that. And
really?
So that's part of what they're trying to address. Like, well, how do we train these models and yet avoid that sycophancy, and how do we get the models to say when they don't have an answer and things of that nature?
Yeah.
But then I read an article this morning that from a mathematician, and so a lot of it went over my head because he was talking about a mathematical limitation, a hard limitation in LLMs that will never be able to overcome, like these hallucination problems and that.
Yeah.
And his solution is what he calls toroidal, TOROIDAL architecture, which I guess is like a donut.
Okay.
And however they map vector spaces through that, and again, that's, what did I call that? Topological mathematics? I don't even know. I probably mangled that one too. But it's just, it was it's part of like when I dive into the deep end of the AI pool, and then it's like all these people that are talking about different architectures and how to build, and I'm like, oh man. And then you start getting into the higher level math that I never needed, so I never pursued.
Right.
Anything much past algebra and maybe basic calculus, I never needed in any area of my life. So why would I? Why would I get into multi-dimensional mathematics?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, kid. Well, it looks like we've been chatting for about an hour this morning.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, well, that's been episode. What is it? 18, I believe, or no? This is 19. Last one was 18. So thank you for joining us for episode 19 of 19. Occasionally Philosophical. Just like always, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And I have been Mark, and this is...
I'm still Doug. And until next time, thanks for stopping by.
We'll catch you next time.
See ya.